Hello. So this is going to be the kind of video where I just sort of talk out loud for 15 minutes. The thing in particular that I have on my mind is the bow tie setup is just because I was at a shoot earlier where I had to be dressed as a science guy, you know, like Bill Nye. It was fun. It was a good time. And I just never took the bow tie off. So we're going with that for the video. The thing that I want to talk about in this video is, well, essentially I just want to do a practice run of a speech that I'm going to have to give later today. It's early morning Friday right now, and Friday night tonight at 6 p.m. I have somehow managed to schedule a couple people to be in one room who have never been in one room together before, and I want to make sure that we take the best possible advantage of the opportunity. The group of people is like the student body president of UCCS and a guy who just got back from doing a Fulbright business venture in Kenya and who is now running a quad university project that involves CC, PPCC, the U.S. Air Force Academy, and UCCS, like a postgraduate training program for all four of those universities. Another friend from high school who's running a local co-working space, and then a friend who's a marketer who's thrown events that 50,000 people have shown up to here in Colorado Springs. So a bunch of like entrepreneur-y movers and shakers. And the conversation I want to have with them is essentially if we as a group or we as individuals want to effectively serve and contribute to our community here over the course of the next 50 years, because we're all from here or we're going to be involved here in some business sense. What sort of long view do we want to take? What do we want to prioritize? What sort of opportunities do we want to really look into and make sure we take the most advantage of? What sort of conversations do we want to start? What sort of projects do we want to support? What sort of things do we want to dedicate our time and effort to? And what sort of outcome do we really want from those things that we do? So the thesis behind this was when I came back from Hong Kong to be with family, I sort of settled into the idea of the fact that I'm from here and that I'll always be from like Colorado Springs, and I'll never not be from here, nor will I ever be from somewhere else. So I have this like relationship that I didn't necessarily choose, but that I am saddled with Colorado Springs, and for that reason I'm probably going to want, you know, the best for my hometown over the course of my life, you know, root for the home team and all that. And so, if that's going to be the case, while I plan on living in other places and traveling a lot and being involved in big city life, I also think I have this cool advantage of being from a place that's very, like, not yet a cultural center, but will probably be up and coming in the near future. And the reason I say that is because due to things like climate change and economic changes and changes in the way human transportation works, we're no longer going to have a huge reliance on coasts. The U.S., like as a civilization, is no longer going to have a huge reliance on our coasts anymore, which have historically been the only places that human civilization flourishes. Inland cities are really showing a lot of promise lately, and then if transportation technologies like Hyperloop come along, or airplanes continue to get cheaper, or, you know, etc. and so on, or if we become multiplanetary, you know, there are a couple scenarios in which I could imagine cities like Colorado Springs, Denver, Fort Collins, Boulder, Pueblo, the whole Front Range area becoming the next major, like, megalopolis, especially if weather gets bad enough that coastal areas become sort of dangerous or unpredictable to live in, or risky investments long term, that sort of thing. And that's actually very likely to happen within the next 50 years. So given that context, I think being from a place that is up and coming and has the chance to become a cultural center and also has this really incredible quality of life I think that's a cool opportunity, and so that's why I want to make sure that those of us that are young and who are already involved in the business community here and sort of getting plugged in and getting to know business leaders and people who are influential in these places already. I think that those of us who sort of want to be in the positions of power that people are in now in 30 years should coordinate a little bit. We should talk to each other. And we should also figure out how we can connect to other people in our similar position in Denver and Boulder, Pueblo, Fort Collins, and so forth. So those are my thoughts, roughly and broadly, and that's why I'm bringing all these people together in one room. However, I don't know how to say all that without sounding super hippy-dippy. And I don't know... Did that sound super hippy-dippy? I don't know. And I don't really know how to pitch it to get the feedback that I'm looking for from these folks. So what I would like to know is what they see as their future in Colorado, and then what they see as the future of Colorado. So how do you want to be involved personally, and then also where do you see the state going? Is there great hope for becoming a cultural center, or is there great hope for changing the way Colorado Springs and Denver interact with the global scene? Or, you know, are we just Colorado Springs and Denver? You know, we happen to be like mid-sized American cities, and we'll forever be just like, oh, yeah, that's nearby where people go skiing. You know, that is certainly one possible outcome, but I don't think it's the most interesting one. And I think if we're really going to do a good job of rooting for the home team, so to speak, I really shouldn't make sports metaphors because I don't like sports. But if we're going to do a good job of representing our city and building our city into the best it can be, there's a lot that we can learn from people who've already tried to do that. And then there's a lot that we could do to coordinate and plan and purposefully act in a certain direction or for a certain cause. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. I know it's all very, I don't know, anything that even like smacks at all of nationalism or of like us versus them, that sort of mentality, I'm usually not a huge advocate of. But I think that the whole like shift in cultural centers because of climate change is probably going to happen in my lifetime. And if not to cities with more stable weather patterns, then maybe to cities on other planets. And I'm interested in the way cultures are built and the way that cities interact with the entire planet or with entire countries. I'm interested in the way that art and human stories are told and spread, and the ways in which people become successful and their stories become legends, that sort of thing. And I think that at the very, very least, it'll be a fun and interesting experience for me to help Colorado's communities get to know each other, connect, collaborate, coordinate better. And at the very worst, it'll be cool. Like, I'll learn some stuff that maybe is applicable later, either in business building or in just maintaining friendships or living a fulfilled life. And at best, you know, maybe there's something to be said for, like, you know, doing some intentional city planning as huge growth happens in the region. And maybe it can be extraordinarily useful in that way, just connecting dots, right? So there's huge upside, there's almost no downside, it's all super interesting, and I'm really excited about bringing people together to talk about that. And that is essentially the speech I think I'm going to give tomorrow night when we all sit down to talk to each other. But just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to do a pretend version of it now in just a few minutes. If you're sick of hearing me talk, just turn off the video now. But I'm essentially going to repeat what I just explained to you as if I were saying it to these guys. And we'll see how this goes. Or I may just cut the video here if it goes badly and I don't want to post it on the internet. So, if so, thank you for watching. Okay, so Hey guys, welcome. Thank you all for making it today. I'm really glad that we all are finally in one space. I know we've all heard about the different works and projects that each other are doing around the city, the different things we're all involved in, and I know we're all involved in a lot of exciting things, and we're often too busy to sit down and have a calm conversation for no reason, essentially, like this. So I'm really excited for this opportunity because I think it's rare and because I think it's valuable. And let me tell you why I think it's valuable. I think that, so a couple years ago when I first moved back to the Springs after college, I think all of you know that I went to college at Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia, and so I was not plugged into any of the communities here in Colorado Springs except for my friends from high school, which includes Jeremy. When I got back, I wanted to get involved in the business community here because I'm an entrepreneur myself, and because I honestly had no idea that there was a community, so when I found out that there was one, I was super excited. I just wanted to jump in. Part of my thinking in getting involved in Colorado Springs and learning more about Colorado Springs after living in a coastal city, in several coastal cities in college. I lived in Savannah, in Georgia, and then in Hong Kong, and visited New York and LA and San Francisco, and sort of got a sense for the way these really big cultural centers influence global conversations, nations, that sort of thing. I came back to little tiny Colorado Springs and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then I heard about stuff like climate change and stuff like, changes in global economics and the flattening of the world, and the fact that it's much easier for cities like Austin and Chattanooga and Colorado Springs and Denver and Boulder to do really well and to flourish in the modern economic environment than it has been in the past, because historically we had a disadvantage not being close to water and not being close to a shipping and trade route. But now that the economy is based on information and we have good access to the internet in all these places, often the real economic productivity is no longer limited by your proximity to water, but is actually enabled just by the speed of your internet connection and the quality of the people in your city. And so Colorado in particular has this incredible advantage, like California, of having a really good university system, a lot of actually really good university systems, not just one, and then some really, really high-tech industries. Some minds from space and from computer science and cybersecurity, just really interesting, highly educated, awesome people, all in one place. So Colorado has this crazy advantage, and all of this sort of occurred to me over the first year of my time back here in Colorado Springs. I started thinking to myself, wow, it might be really cool to be involved here long term and to see how I can help this city grow and get plugged in to the global economy and be a valuable, big, meaningful contributor to, I don't know, global culture, the global economy, to our nation and the way we do things, and the ways our nation's economy functions. I think Colorado Springs and Denver, to put it very simply, can be very, very valuable, important, big cities in the near future. And I want to make sure that I'm a part of making that happen, because I think that that is an opportunity to serve a community which gave a lot to me growing up. I feel very blessed to be from here, and I, as a result of that, just want to give back. So that's where I'm coming from, and that is why I have had such an interest in you guys, who all seem to reflect at least some portions of those attitudes in the work that you do. And so the reason that I have sort of toyed with the idea of getting this meeting of this group of us together for a while is that I think it would be really great to sort of compare and contrast the different visions we each have for Colorado Springs and for Colorado as a whole, and then talk about how we want to be involved. So for example, Sam, I probably know you least well of everyone here, and I have always been curious, though have never really gotten the chance to ask you directly, what you want to do. What is your long-term vision here in the Springs? What are you most excited for? And I know there's almost zero chance that any of us know the actual answer to that. But I am more just curious what you're interested in. What fascinates you? What are you curious about? What aspects of living in Colorado, starting businesses in Colorado, being involved in the business community really inspire you and what gets you excited and driven, that sort of thing. And so while I wanted to ask Sam that specifically, I'm also curious in general about all of you, Jeremy, Marcus, Jacob, and possibly Jimmy. I'm curious for all of you to answer that question. I think I've just answered it with my little introduction here, but I would love to hear what your thoughts are, and hopefully that will give us enough to talk about over the span of this evening. Then after we have this conversation and we wrap up from here and we all are on the same page, so to speak, I would love to redo this event in different contexts that feel fun and interesting for us in the future. So either we, decide to go white water rafting as a big group and we all drive up together, or we go camping somewhere, or we go to the state fair or something stupid. And then let's invite other parts of the Colorado Springs or Denver, Boulder business communities with us. Let's find a group of like-minded young people in Denver and Boulder who are the same sort of like group, but the Denver or Boulder version, and let's invite them on an adventure in Castle Rock. Or let's find, business leaders who are too busy to, sit down and have meetings with us in Colorado. Let's go invite them to do Colorado-y adventures that they would be doing anyway, as sort of like a fun way to do these meetings. And let's follow up that way. Instead of putting together like a let's have a conversation every Wednesday night, let's just continue to seek each other out and create events like this. They're not terribly hard to set up. They're pretty easy to, so long as you plan a couple weeks in advance, it's pretty easy to make sure everyone can make it. And sometimes we get free beer and food like we have tonight. So let's make sure to do these on a regular basis, but mix it up and keep it interesting and not ever make it like an obligation for each other. I want to keep it interesting. I want to keep the conversation going, and I always want to have new topics and new hosts and that sort of thing. And I think you guys would be open to that. Hopefully you are. I'd love to hear feedback about that. But then also I think you guys probably have better connections than I do for inviting interesting people to events like this. So those are the two main reasons that I have called you all together here today. And I hope that that sets us off on what will be productive, fun, interesting, incredible adventure where we get to give back to a community that has given a ton to us. And I guess we'll start with you. Okay, so that's essentially the 7-minute spiel that I intend to give tonight at 6 p.m. This video will probably go up after that has happened. I might put it up early and ask for feedback on it. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening to me talk to a camera for a while. I'm gonna get back to work, send some emails, upload these videos to YouTube because I'm behind by a couple days. But boy, has this project been fun and provided me a very interesting platform to do things like this, practicing for events. Yeah, I guess that's about it for this video. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything I've just said over the last 20 minutes in the comments below, or text me or email me or Twitter me or Facebook friend me and message me. Whatever you think about this, wherever you are in life or in the world. If you are a high schooler in California, or you're Betty in Georgia, or Alan in Mexico, I want to hear what you think about what I'm doing, what I could do better, what I'm obviously missing, what opportunities I'm overlooking, and what things I should consider, etc. Yeah. Thank you a lot for paying attention and for watching, for hanging out with me. I will see you in the next video.